Hi, my name's Emily from the Blue Mouse, and today I'm going to show you how to cast on for beginners. So to begin, you're going to want to make a slipknot. So today I'm going to show you two ways to make a slipknot. The first way by laying it on the table and doing it that way. So here we have the tail end of our yarn. So we're going to create kind of an upside down U with your tail end on the right and your working yarn on the left. And now we're going to twist this U. Like that. So it goes up and around, and you want your tail end to be on the underside and this to be over top of it. Okay, and now you're going to take this loop and move it on top of these two strands. So take it and fold it over and create kind of a pretzel. So do you see the part of it that's connected to the tail? This part right here? So you want to pinch these two ends down to the table. So we want to grab this yarn right here. See how we have that? And you're going to push up. And you just created a slipknot. Now this is a super loose slipknot. So if you want to tighten it up, you just stick your finger in it, grab both ends of the tail and pull them apart. And you just tightened it up. And if you want to loosen it again, you just pull the loop. And it will pull the slipknot open. Now let's say you want to make a slipknot by holding it in your hands instead of on the table. So go ahead and skip to this time if you don't want to learn the faster way of making a slipknot. So to do that, we're going to have the tail end in the working yarn create an upside down U, and I've got that upside down U in my right hand. So I'm just going to hold down on the working yarn with the last few fingers of my left hand, and then grab the tail end with my thumb and index finger. Okay, you see how I have a U here? So I'm going to put my thumb in the upside down U, and now I'm going to add my index finger into it so that I can twist it. And now I can grab the yarn with my thumb and index finger. So we're going to grab this section of the tail yarn. So go ahead and move your thumb and index finger over and grab it, and then pull it to create a loop. So there you have it. That is another way to make a slipknot, which is a lot faster. And now we're going to get into the casting on. So once you have your slipknot, you want to place it on your left needle. If you're working with straight needles, doesn't matter which one, but if you're working with circulars, you're going to want to place it on your left needle. You want it to be loose, but not too loose. So with mine right now, there's so much space underneath that. We don't want that. So we're going to pull a little bit on the slipknot to close it. So there's a little bit of space, but not a ton. You want it to be able to slip down your needle a little bit. So I'm going to give you an example showing you it on my finger so that it's a little bit bigger and easier to see. So imagine that this is my stitch on my finger, right? This is my stitch right here, big loop. What we're going to do is there is a front loop and a back loop. You see that? There's a front loop and a back loop to our stitch. So this is exactly what our stitch is like on our needle. You're going to take your needle and you're going to go just in the hole of that stitch. So from left to right, you're just going to go into that hole. Do you see that? Just into that hole. And so it will look crisscrossed. And that is essentially what we're doing here. So that's just a bigger, easier version. So we're going to do that same thing, but with this stitch. So I'm just going to pick up the working yarn that's connected to my ball of yarn and kind of gently hold it in my last few fingers, and then put my index finger under that working yarn. So we can see that this stitch has a hole right here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that same thing I just showed you with my fingers. And I'm going to take my right hand needle and just go into that hole of the stitch on your needle. And it creates a crisscross with your needles, and the right one is under the left one. Do you see that? That's what it should look like. And then we're going to take the yarn that is attached to our ball of yarn, not the tail, but the other one. And we're going to take it and we're going to bring this yarn from front to back over our right hand needle here. So bring it from front to back over that right hand needle. And you want to kind of gently hold it with your left hand so that it doesn't fall off that needle. So you have essentially added a loop to your right hand needle. And now we're going to pull this loop through the one on your left hand needle. So you're going to want to put your right hand index finger on the loop on your right hand needle. So you're going to gently guide this through that loop. Okay, I will show that to you again, slower. So you have your right hand needle crisscross underneath, yarn over from front to back, and you're going to hold that with your right hand index finger. And then from a different angle, so if I turn my needles to the side, this is my loop on my right hand needle, okay? I'm going to hold on to it and pull it through that other loop. Now you want to keep your index finger on that loop, and you're going to pull gently up with your right hand needle to create a bigger loop. Okay, now we're going to move it from your right needle to your left needle. Now we want to twist it as we do it. So we don't want to just go like this. That is not right. You don't want to just do that. So holding on to it with your index finger right here, you're going to bring your left needle closer to you and pick that needle up off of the other needle. So it twists it a little bit as you do that. And now you have 2 loops on your left needle. Now if it is way too loose, you can just gently pull on the yarn that is connected to your yarn ball. So gently pull on it to tighten it up. You don't want it to be super tight, you still want it to be able to move, but just tighten it enough that it's comfortable. And we are just going to do that again to add more loops or stitches to your left hand needle. We're going to do that same thing, but we're going to do it into the stitch closest to the tip of your left needle. So that would be this one right here. Before we get started, I'll show you that on my hands. So it's just like this. We have a second loop on my fingers, and this is what it isolated it will look like. So there's still a hole there. So you're still going to bring your needle in between that hole, like this. So we go into what looks like the front loop of this stitch closest to the edge of your left needle. Okay, and you're going to crisscross it. So you just went into that hole. You're going to bring your working yarn, which again is connected to your ball of yarn. So we're going to bring it front to back over this right hand needle here. So bring it front and then over to the back. And then you want to hold on to it with your right index finger right here, and we're going to bring it through the hole. So you see this hole right here? We're going to pull this through that. So hold it with your index finger, and we're going to pull it to the front. So from the front, it will look like this. And then again, you're just going to pull it loosely to make it bigger. And we're going to place it on our left hand needle. And again, we need to twist it. So we can't just go directly like that. That won't work. We have to bring our needle to the other side. So bring your left needle to the front towards you, and then pick it up and slip it over. Okay? So bring your left needle towards you and then slip it to that other needle. Okay? And it's going to be loose again, so you can just gently, you see how that's bigger than the other ones? You're just going to gently pull on the working yarn connected to your ball of yarn to tighten it up. You still want it to be able to slide, but tighten it enough so it doesn't just immediately slip off. And there you go. You've just learned how to cast on. So I'll show that to you one final time. So every time that you add a new stitch, so every time you cast on a stitch, you're always going to be going into the stitch that is closest to the tip of your left hand needle. So you now have 3 loops, so you'll go into the loop closest to the tip. So it's this one right here. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to go in between your stitches. So you see how I have not gone into this front stitch? That's not what you want to do. So you want to go in between these 2 loops so that you're in the hole of that stitch. And you've crisscrossed your needles, and your right is underneath your left. And then, again, you always bring the yarn from front to back over your needle. So bring the yarn towards you, then over the needle to the back. And then you hold that yarn with your right index finger And if you just look over the top, you can see that there's a hole here where you can see my thumbnail. You're going to be pulling this piece of yarn through that hole. So pull it through, and there you go. Pull the loop up a little bit, and then continue to hold it with your right index finger. And again, you want to twist the stitch as you put it on your left needle. So you can bring your left hand needle towards you and then pick up the stitch this way. So I'm picking up the stitch this way, and then pull on the working yarn to tighten it just a little bit. You're just going to keep doing that until you have cast on all of the stitches. So once you get kind of used to it, you go in, wrap the yarn around, pull it through, pull up, and then you bring your right hand needle around to the back and then slip your left hand needle on. You will get much better and faster at this with practice. Please don't get discouraged. You can totally do this. It just takes some practice to get better at it. You'll feel very awkward and fiddly at first, but once you keep doing it, you will get so much better and faster and more comfortable with it. So please don't give up.